Hi guys, thanks for watching. I wanted to make a video today to talk about how we can do Zoom weddings or virtual weddings, but with a focus on Zoom weddings. I'm going to talk about the technical problems that you might come across and how to avoid them, and also kind of the cute things or cute ideas that you can do for your Zoom wedding. So if you've been thinking about maybe having a Zoom wedding now or maybe in the near future, just like we did, we didn't end up having a Zoom wedding, but we definitely considered it. Hopefully this video will give you all the tools you need and some cute ideas to help make your wedding successful. My name is Brittany. I make videos about wedding stuff on this channel, so if this is interesting to you, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Now, all of these Zoom wedding ideas I'm going to talk to you about today are ideas that I've stolen from other couples. I've done a lot of research the last few weeks, just kind of like digging into what makes a Zoom wedding good, how you avoid technical difficulties and all that. So thank you so much to anyone who has shared or written about their virtual weddings online. I definitely stole all of your ideas. So let's talk about the technical stuff first, and then we'll go into the cuter, fun ideas. So the first thing you're going to want to do is definitely get a pro version of Zoom. If you're using the free version for your wedding, it's going to cut off after 40 minutes, and that's going to be pretty annoying to try to get all of your guests back on after your Zoom session cuts out. I've also heard of people doing Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and other platforms like that, so you can definitely use other platforms. Feel free to use whatever platform you feel most comfortable with. I'm talking about Zoom specifically because I've just read a lot about Zoom weddings, and I had to use Zoom quite a lot in 2020 as a teacher. And I think it's a pretty cool platform to be able to record your wedding, keep it forever. And then as far as making a Zoom account, it's really easy. Do some test runs. You can watch some tutorials about how to use Zoom, but it is pretty straightforward in my experience. It also seems to be one of the more stable platforms, and I've heard weird things like you can't play music on Facebook Live and things like that because the music is copyrighted, so you might have to they might remove your video from Facebook. I know for Zoom that's definitely not the case. You can listen to whatever music or play whatever music you want. You might want to use email to send out your Zoom invitations in advance, as far out in advance as you can, and maybe you also want to send a reminder email, and then in that email make sure you let people know how to use it, send your Zoom link, send your password information, and just let everybody know how to get into your Zoom meeting. Remember that not everybody is as comfortable with this technology, so you might have to hold people's hands to kind of get them adjusted to all of this stuff. A really good thing to put in that Zoom invitation message is to let everybody know to sign into your meeting at least 30 minutes or about 30 minutes in advance of when you want to start the ceremony, because then you make sure that all technical difficulties, technical problems are taken care of, that everybody knows what's happening like a good amount of time before your wedding actually begins. What I've seen over and over again for couples who did this successfully is that they appointed somebody to take care of the technical stuff. So don't try to be managing the video feed and muting people while you're also trying to get married. See if you can appoint somebody to kind of manage the IT part of your wedding for you, so you just don't have to think about this stuff. And also this person will make sure that your video is recorded for you. I would actually ask a couple of people to record it just in case one recording doesn't work. The big advantage of having your wedding on Zoom is that you can record the entire thing and have a record of it that you can watch over and over again. Appoint someone or a few someones to do the IT and to record your wedding, and also to save the chat. Make sure you save the little sidebar of chatting, because what I've seen for a lot of these Zoom weddings is that there's not just the wedding happening, but there's this side commentary happening in the chat bar of people congratulating you and making observations, and that's an awesome thing that you can't even have in an in-person wedding that makes Zoom weddings super awesome. So just make sure that you have somebody appointed to save that chat as well. Definitely make sure you test your internet connection before all this. Make sure if you're getting married in an Airbnb, for example, or at somebody else's house, just make sure and check, do a few trial runs in the days leading up to your wedding to make sure that your internet connection in that place is stable enough. One important thing that you might not have thought about with your virtual wedding is lighting. So it's really important that you have good lighting so that everybody can obviously see your faces, see your pretty background that I'm assuming you're going to be working on. We'll get to that in a minute. So good lighting is super, super important. You can either get married outside and it's easy, then you definitely have good lighting. You can get married facing a window, so the window's light is on your face. Or you can invest in some pretty cheap LED like circle lights. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link down below so you can get a few of these. And basically this is just gonna like pour light on you guys, so one, your photographer can get nice photos of you, and two, everybody can see you nice and clearly in the Zoom box. It's also a good idea to make sure you guys are framed nicely, so you want to be kind of like eye level with your guests. You don't want to like your camera going up your chins or like too much down on you, but just like kind of eye level is nice. So do a little bit of experimenting, maybe prop your camera or your phone or your iPad or your computer or whatever it is you're using to film yourselves. Just do some test runs and maybe stack some books and see what works best to get your wedding, I guess you want to call it like your altar space or wherever it is you're getting married. Make sure all of that is framed nicely and isn't going up your nostrils. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the fun stuff you can do for your virtual wedding. These are some of the ideas that I stole from people online that I just loved. So first of all, it seems like it's a really good idea to have both a ceremony and a reception, just like you would at a normal wedding. And so for your ceremony, you can include all the same elements that you would in a normal, quote, normal ceremony. You can even walk down an aisle if you want. You can have readings. You can ask people to virtually read the readings, or if you're able to have a small group physically present with you, they can read the readings right next to you. So that's another thing, is decide where you want to have this. Are you going to do it in a backyard? Are you going to do it in your living room? Are you going to have it at an Airbnb somewhere or a hotel if you're able to do that? Decide the physical location so you can start thinking about how you want to decorate it. And also who's able to be there. Probably you're going to need your officiant to be there. I know there are a few states in the US that allow you to get married virtually, so that meaning like your officiant is not physically with you, but in a lot of places that's still not allowed. So it'll at least be physically present, you, your partner, and an officiant, and then maybe several other people if you're allowed to have a small crowd there with you. And then all of your other guests will be virtual. So that could be like from just a handful of people to maybe 150, 200 plus people. I've seen some people having virtual weddings who just had tons and tons of guests present. That's another advantage of having a Zoom wedding, is you can have tons and tons of guests, and it's actually very, very cheap. So yeah, back to the ceremony program. You can do anything you want. You can keep it very close to how you originally planned it in your head, actually. You'd be surprised. Now, a really, really cute idea I saw was to ask all of your guests to dress up, which I think you should do anyway. Have all your guests dress up, at least from the waist up. One couple I saw had all of their guests dress all in white. So you saw like 150 little squares and everybody was wearing white, which was really, really cool. So you could have some kind of dress code like that. I would recommend keeping it really easy, like all white or all black. And then this couple, I think this was a woman who's like a Vogue editor or something. She had asked all of her guests in advance of her wedding to write the couple a love note, to write them a love note, maybe like some marriage advice to the couple, and then to put that letter into an envelope. And on the back of the envelope, she asked all of her guests to write one word that represented marriage or was like a wish for them in their marriage. So at one point during the ceremony, she asked, or the officiant asked everybody, you know, those 150 people in their little squares, to lift up the back of to lift up the envelope and to show the word. So there's just like 150 people with their beautiful words lifted up, and they took a group photo, and that was kind of like the family photo for the wedding. I think if we take the time to think about it, we can do all kinds of creative things like this. Other people actually physically had items delivered to their guests the days or the weeks leading up to the virtual wedding, and then so it would be like cake pops or some kind of special favor that all of the guests could lift up and show in the frames. I really love this because I feel like we're finding ways to connect with each other even if it can't be in person. Even if we're forced into these kind of strange situations, we are finding ways to connect with each other in these really beautiful ways. So you'll have a ceremony, and ideally you would have a program made up, and you might even want to send this kind of schedule of events in the email invitation that you send to your guests so that they know, okay, there's a ceremony. You don't have to put all the details of the ceremony, but there's going to be a ceremony at this time followed by a reception, and you might want to tell your guests, have cocktails or have a drink prepared in advance. Wear this kind of attire, please. You know, like you would outline all of this in the invitation email that you send to your guests. What you don't want is your guests confused and scrambling at the last minute or during your ceremony not being prepared. So just, you know, letting them know what to wear and having a drink on hand so that they can toast you either at the end of the ceremony or during the reception is a really good idea. And then you might want to have your officiant at the beginning of the ceremony just explain like what the agenda is going to be for the day. You'll probably want to plan on having a photographer present, and so the photographer would just take photos of the ceremony like physically there while you're doing all this. If you're planning on saving your photographer until maybe a bigger wedding later on, don't worry too much about that, but it is nice to have at least somebody, even like an amateur or whatever, taking photos of you during your wedding ceremony, because it's fun and cute and you want to capture those moments. I would also recommend preparing a playlist. So we're going to talk about the reception in just a minute, but you might want to have a playlist prepared for the ceremony as well if you are walking down the aisle, or just having a celebration song when the time comes when you're pronounced officially married. It's a good idea to have a playlist on hand. And make sure that you rehearse it. Just like you would rehearse a normal, you know, have a normal run through of your wedding day, make sure you rehearse it for your virtual wedding as well, just so it goes as smoothly as possible. If any of you have been on Zoom or done virtual anything in the last few months, you know that it can be a little bit awkward, that, you know, it takes a little bit easing into these things. And the more that you have planned, the more of an agenda that you have, the smoother it will go, especially if you have practiced it, run through it 1 or 2 times beforehand. Okay, so we're going to talk about decorations and the reception. So some cute reception ideas might be having a slideshow. So you might want to put together a slideshow or ask a friend of yours or a family member to put together a slideshow beforehand. Don't make this too long, like maybe a 5-minute slideshow with some music, make everybody cry. That would be lovely. For a smaller group, you could do something like trivia. My sister had a virtual baby shower last year, and we actually did like, in advance, we sent out questionnaire trivia things with Google Forms, and then we used the baby shower as an opportunity to announce the winner and like what the prize was going to be for the winner. So you could do that as well. That could be something fun. You don't actually have to take time playing a game during the reception, but you could just announce the winner and go over the answers, or maybe like the more fun answers to some of the trivia questions. You could use the reception to do toasts. So ask people to be toasters in advance. To be toasters, that sounds weird. And give them strict guidelines, let them know how long they have to speak. Make sure they're not holding everybody hostage on Zoom, but truly toast can be some of the most beautiful parts of this whole experience. So I highly recommend asking somebody to toast you or a few somebodies to toast you during the reception. You could use this opportunity to do a group photo, which is basically like a screenshot. You can do this in some cute ways, like Brady Bunch type photos where people are like looking at other people in different squares. You can have a classic wedding reception and do a dance party. It might be a little awkward. You gotta read the room, know your crowd, but definitely a dance party has been really fun for other people who have had Zoom weddings. Some people have done karaoke, so really be open-minded and do whatever you want for this reception. I recommend at least doing a little something. You can keep it really short, just at least thanking your guests for being there and taking a few screenshots. All right, and finally, guys, let's talk a little bit about decorations. So this is another advantage of having a virtual wedding. You don't have to decorate a giant ballroom or a ceremony space. You just need to decorate one little corner that's gonna act as your ceremony area and reception area. So you can decorate the space with flowers. You can use fake flowers, cheap flowers. Remember that people are not gonna be seeing these flowers up close, so don't spend a ton of money on flowers if you don't have to. I highly recommend my favorite solo wood flowers, which I made a video on. If you're interested, go watch that. You can decorate with garland, with candles. You can keep it really simple. Use a couple of cool rugs in your living room and just like overlap them. Check out a couple of interior design videos or Pinterest and just concentrate on making the space directly behind you pretty, and don't worry about anything else. And this is where also a virtual wedding is kind of like an introvert's dream, because after this whole thing, you can just relax with your partner at home or in your Airbnb, wherever you are, and just chill. You can order out and that's it. You're married and you had a beautiful ceremony that all of your friends and family who you wanted to attended, and you're done. Unless you want to have another big wedding ceremony or big wedding reception sometime in the future. But other than that, you're done. Congratulations, you're married. I hope this video helped you out, guys. Please let me know in the comments below what other fun virtual wedding ideas or technical things that we should keep in mind while having virtual weddings. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.